Hello, hello, and welcome to Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff. My guest today, and I say this with love, is a beautiful, delicious mess. Those are her words, not mine. Although I do happen to agree. Parker Wallace is an Emmy-nominated culinary lifestyle expert and entrepreneur known for her warm, funny, and conversational style. She transformed her popular blog, Parker's Plate, into a cooking segment integrated into TV shows across the country. She is the author of Eat Rich, Stay Skinny, A Girl's Guide to Holiday Feasting, a featured blogger for the Huffington Post Taste section, and has transitioned her love of cooking and TV into a nutrition-focused business called RDTV. She and her team train and book registered dietitians as broadcast, digital, social talent. She manages large multi-platform campaigns, and her newest business venture is managing culinary and lifestyle talent for large spokesperson deals. I mean, she does everything. She is a seasoned journalist, an accomplished businesswoman, a foodie, a bourbon aficionado, and most importantly to me, a friend. Please welcome Parker Wallace to the program. Parker!
Oh my gosh, I'm so thrilled to be here and just to see your beautiful face and to be able to talk to you because as I said on the phone, like we'll go a long time without talking and then we reconnect and it's just like no time has passed.
It's just like no time has passed. So full transparency, I met Parker, I would dare to say like almost a decade ago. I don't know how long. It's been a minute.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. And Parker, we were both doing segments on, I think, Atlanta and Company.
Yeah.
And I feel like your segment might have been first. And then for whatever ungodly reason, you stayed for mine.
I did, because I was activated.
And so afterwards, we were just like, we should be friends. And then that was it.
And then
that was it. That was it. And I seem to be attracted to just strong, beautiful, intelligent women. And I just bask in the glow of your company. So I am so excited to know you, to be your friend, and to have you here on Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff.
I am thrilled. And I just think it's really cool also just to see, you talk about strong women, to see the evolution that you and I have gone through personally and professionally. And now a decade later, I feel I'm really proud of where you and I are both sitting.
Yeah. And it's still evolving, right?
Always.
It's still evolving. So one thing about Parker, I said she was a bourbon aficionado, and which she is, but my girl can get down in the kitchen and at the bar. So one thing that I always feel like needs to happen when we get together is there needs to be a cocktail involved.
Obviously.
There's got to be a cocktail involved. And since this is what you do, Parker, can you bless the people?
Yes.
With a little cocktail now, I already made mine because I forgot what we'd agreed upon in terms of what we were making. So I just went rogue and made something completely different. But you're going to teach us a proper martini. Is that correct?
Yes. And in transparency, I used to go the dirty route. And one of my favorite sayings was, sitting down at the bar and ordering a martini and just saying, I like my martinis like I like my men, stiff and dirty.
Yeah.
Now I like them strong and clean.
Yeah, you know what? A clean man. There is something to be said.
So here's how I like to make mine. So chilled
now
glass.
Explain before you start.
Yeah.
The difference between a dirty martini and what you're doing here today. What's the difference?
So classic martinis, you either choose gin or vodka. I prefer vodka. I'm using Kettle One. Grey Goose is also another favorite. So dirty is when you use olive juice to muddy it a little bit and make it saltier and then add olives. A lot of people love blue cheese stuffed olives. That to me is a little bit heavy and sort of diminishes the purity of the actual cocktail itself. So this is strong and clean, like I said. So
we're going to need this for this conversation today. We need we don't need to muddy the waters.
Nope.
We need a strong, stiff one.
And it's also really refreshing. So how I feel after our conversation. So
absolutely.
Chilled glass, dry vermouth. It's called a dry vermouth rinse. So if you're making it for multiple people, you just like swirl it around like this, maybe over a sink so you don't get it messy. And then you would pour it into the other person's glass, swirl it around, and then to the other person's glass. So we're going to just make sure it covers all of the glass like this.
Sure.
And any other bartender who uses one of those crappy sprays, like a vermouth spray, say, no, you need to do the rinse.
That's not the bartender you want.
Right. And then I've got my shaker and I've got ice in it, and I've had the Kettle One chilling in the ice, but I like it so cold that you get a little bit of the ice chips in there.
Like a little frost. Yes. My producer, Rideia, is going to love this sound
Make sure
right
it's
now.
really cold.
Oh my gosh. I can just taste it right now. So good. So good. So good. So good.
Pour that bad boy in there.
So only Kettle One and ice is in your shaker.
Right. And then.
Okay. And then we had a little vermouth swimming around in the glass. So it's just the hint of a little vermouth. And now the lemon.
Peel the lemon.
Fantastic.
Oops. Well, this peeler's a little bit dull here. Hold on. Here we go.
Fantastic.
Yep.
And while we're doing this, let me just say, you guys know that this is a podcast, obviously, because you're listening to it. And so if you're listening on Spotify, load the video of this podcast because you're able to see Parker make this delicious drink. And she took the rind from the lime, twisted it a bit to get some of those essential oils out, right? Yep.
Pop it in, and then it's just a perfect.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Cheers to you, friend.
Let's make a toast.
Toasty. So I did something completely rogue. I used some gin. So I guess technically this could be a gin martini.
Yes.
Although I put some bitters in it. So I did gin, some lime juice, and a dash of bitters.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it just, it was what I was feeling at the time. And you can never start your drinking too early.
No.
Cheers to you, friend.
Cheers. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. So, Parker, we got the drinking.
Yes.
We got our drinks, right? We got our drinks, which is what we absolutely need for this conversation. And so in this season of the podcast, we're starting off with everybody really talking about pivots and the pivots that they've had to make post-pandemic, pivots throughout their career and their life. And we talked so much, in your intro. And that was kind of why I wanted to do the intro with you specifically, because in honor of the blog, Parker's Plate, which turned into the cooking segment, which turned into this empire that you have today, is everything that you've done, as far as I'm concerned, is scraping the plate, right? Something doesn't go quite the way that we want. We're done with whatever's in front of us, right? Yeah. And we have to scrape the plate. It's clearing things out of the way that no longer serves us, that hinders our growth, things that may not be good for us. And when I look at your career, where you started and where you are, it truly feels like the success that you've been able to have has come from scraping the plate.
Absolutely. And everything that has probably felt like a failure or felt like something that didn't go as planned or something that I didn't want to have happen was absolutely, in hindsight now, looking back, essential to the path that led me to this place. And there's not a moment of regret. The hardest times make for obviously the strongest character. And so,
and I'll say though, in the moment, right? You say there's not a moment of regret.
I like to think that. I mean,
looking back though.
Looking back.
I mean, once we make it over it or through the valley and back up on the mountain, no, I don't regret a thing. But for most of us, I'll speak for myself. I'm not going to throw this on you. Okay. But in the moment, as the shit's hitting the fan, right? I don't necessarily always feel as grateful. I'll be honest, not going to lie. I don't always feel as grateful because I'm like, damn, I wanted this to work out, or, I put something else on hold so that I can do this. And now this isn't working out. Or I thought I'd be at, this job or in this relationship forever. And now, it's such a letdown.
I remember one specific day. This was probably like 14 years ago almost now. And I was out of a TV gig. I was looking for a job waiting tables, which I hadn't done since my 20s. I was 35 and I was literally trying to sell my Prada purse to make some rent money. And the young girl at the counter was like, I don't think this is a real Prada. And I'm like, it's a real Prada. Not this for me. I mean, it was like totally a shitty purse. I'd beaten it up so much. And I left without any cash and I got pulled over and I had not paid off a bunch of tickets. I'd missed a court date. So there was a failure to appear and I got carted off to jail for the night. And it was just like, what is happening to my life? I remember like texting my brother and being like, this is not,
and this is 35
arrested right now. I don't know what is that. He's like, are you on drugs? And I'm like, no, I'm so broke. I can't even afford a beer. Like what? And it was just, the moments like that really, for better or for worse, sort of force you to do an inventory on your life at that moment to go, okay, what's going on? Like what do I need to do to make some changes for myself, for my future? And I'm not saying I didn't regret some of the bad decisions that I made at that time, but in the entirety of that perspective now, I'm relieved to have a story like that I can lean into and say,
here.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that jail time though, because now this is not where I expected the conversation to go. I got to take another sip of my juice, honey.
The real, okay. The real moment of reckoning. Oh my God. Because it wasn't just one time. I still didn't have money. I still did not have enough money to pay off those tickets. And I was driving back from, oh my gosh, my landlord's house for dinner. They were swingers. It was crazy. I was like, no, this is not happening. I'm leaving now after a couple margaritas, and I was speeding, and I got pulled over and plopped into the paddy wagon and driven around for like 2 hours. After margaritas, I had to pee so bad. I was like, literally, like, please, can you just let me go to the bathroom somewhere, please? Because it's going to be another hour before they pick everyone up and take us all back to jail. Like,
right. Oh
so
my God.
I was like, handcuffed in the back, and I have my skinny jeans on, and I literally wriggled out of those to pee. I was just like, I can't wait any longer. And the officer, like, he opened up the back of the paddy wagon. He's like, Miss Parker, what are you doing? He like gets in and like pulls my pants back up, and I'm like, I'm gonna go so bad. And at that moment, he sat me down, and we're driving like truly to jail. And I'm like,
oh my God.
All right, I need to completely change my life. Like, this is not me. Like, what is going on? 2 jail visits in 6 months and no money in the bank account. And I need a job. I need a plan. This is like really like not me. So that was like the moment, the movie moment.
So you literally had to scrape a plate with like dried lasagna,
I mean, that was a soaker.
The mess.
That plate.
Yeah,
was
that it had to.
It was an overnight soaker.
Oh my gosh! And you're 35 at this point.
Yeah,
like old enough to know better. Supposedly.
Oh yeah.
Now, was this before? Because what I know about your career, and we're going to talk about this, right? You started, or at least the goal, right, was to be a reporter, a journalist, an anchor, this part, like, was this before or after?
So I was the reporter, I was the anchor, and then the recession was in full bloom. My contract wasn't renewed. And so I cashed out my 401k, went through that in a couple months, and had to get a job. And no one was hiring.
A job.
Yeah. I was working as a personal and private chef, like transitioning because I love to cook. I hadn't been classically trained. And so I, ran out of money. People then, weren't hiring or didn't want to spend money on a private or personal chef at that point.
Right.
Recession. So I ended up getting a job at the Atlanta Fish Market and was going to wait tables, which I hadn't done in like 15 years, since I was probably 23. And then I had been accepted to Le Cordon Bleu, to the culinary school, but couldn't afford to go. So I marched myself into the kitchen, and Chef Bobby Holly was this like just fabulous, like jubilant guy from South Boston. And I, said, Chef Bobby, I would like to come and work for you in your kitchen on my days off for free. And he said, Parker, you need to get the fuck out of my kitchen until you get some proper fucking shoes. And I was like, oh, okay, yes, chef. I like spent all my tip money on Danskos, and came back to the kitchen the next day, and he taught me really like all of the elevated ways that I cook now was thanks to Chef Bobby for taking a chance on me and training me gratis. And it was the best culinary boot camp I could have ever gone to. And then it also taught me about sales, because when I was waiting tables in the front of the house, I knew how to sell in the dishes the specials that I was selling, because I was making.
Right.
So I could talk about the stuffed lobster and the, like buttery breadcrumbs and the way they're, baked into the phenomenal like stuffed lobster. It was just the best lesson in life. All of it.
And you know what? I do believe that people come into your life for a reason. This is a bit of a tangent, but I do believe that people come into your life for a reason, and that who you meet is exactly who you're supposed to meet. Because I feel like had I not met you in the way that I met you, I'd have definitely met you at the Atlanta Fish Market. Definitely. Because one of my favorite places to go. My daughter loves it, and I love it. And I know we would have met there. I know we would have. And we would have been fast friends.
Fish. Made sure you had the best meal.
So good. So you go from high, right? Working what you feel like is your dream job, to peeing in a paddy wagon, and a cop having to pull your pants back up. God bless him. Yeah. Where do we go? Where do we go next? Because that is a huge transition. You decide you have to get your life together, because this ain't it. You have the grace and the blessing, who is Chef Bobby, who saw enough in you to invest his own time to like just show you the ropes and show you what you needed to know. How does that Parker end up with one of the biggest deals? And we'll talk about what recently happened for you in the fresh market, but one of the biggest deals in digital history for people who watch these cooking segments that come on our television screen each and every day.
Well, the short answer is I think that Chef Bobby came into my life at a time when my self-esteem and my self-worth was so low. And he saw something in me that kept me inspired. And I didn't have to feel embarrassed about the fact that I was working in a kitchen for free, because I was so proud of the work that I was doing with him and for him. And it also taught me how to be scrappy and how to make, I mean, for lack of a better way of saying it, and super cliche, for, making lemonade out of lemons, probably more like a lemon twist martini. Some really bad produce. But after that, I was determined to get back into television and back into media in some capacity. And I got hired for half of what my TV salary was to work for NPR as a political reporter, and worked my butt off to just get back on track, get stable again. And then a call came that was super unusual. The station that had not renewed my contract called me back and said, hey, we're launching this show. We'd love for you to produce the integrated paid content and be the host. So I went back to the station that fired me the first time for round 2. And that's when I started Parker's Plate.
And awesome. And so tell us about Parker's Plate, because that's really how I met you. You were doing a segment under the branding of Parker's Plate. And I think it's a really important thing for people to, for lack of a better word, digest, because so many of us have had this dream, right, placed in our heart about what we might want to do or where we think we should go and what the path is that we are so just committed to doing, and it, for whatever reason, it doesn't necessarily work. But Parker's Plate is Parker's Plate. It's your baby, right? And so you develop that out of this, this callback, like come back to us. We need to do these segments. And it started, if I'm not mistaken, as a blog, but then just turned into this whole like brand and empire for you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it was a lot of transitions, a lot of twists and turns. Ultimately, the gig with that TV station didn't last for longer than like a year and a half, 2 years. And so I quite literally took Parker's Plate on the road and realized that I was good at if it was Parker's Plate, I could sell it. I don't know if I could sell, a BMW on a BMW lot well, but I could sell myself and sell my passion for cooking. And so I was making the television station money and wasn't getting a piece of the action because I was on salary. So I recognized, okay, I think that I can do this on my own. And
that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I started.
I feel like though, Parker, that's what the universe needed you to hear, that like you didn't need them.
Yeah.
Like we always feel like we need the employer, right? We need someone to see it in us. I feel the same way. And on the first episode of the podcast, I talk about that a little bit, like waiting in the juicy details that's on YouTube. I talk about waiting on someone else to make my dream happen when ultimately it was within you all along.
Well, and let's not, the truth is they let me go again. Like, fool me once, shame on me, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Like it was like being fired from the same station twice. I mean, fired meaning like we're replacing you, we're eliminating your position. And there was nothing egregious that had happened. It was just, they were moving in a different direction.
It was just the business. It's just the business.
So there was my plan B was I have to make this work, but I already have Parker's Plate established now on a local TV station. So why don't I take this on the road and do this on all of the TV stations and start just cold calling brands and doing it. And, fast forward, I thought, this is my chance to do the Food Network. And when I finally got in front of them, they were like, you know what? We love you. You're great on camera. Your recipes are awesome, but you're not famous enough for your own show. So sorry, but we can put you on the Food Network star and be in the top 10. And I'm like, yeah, no, it's not. It was not going to. And
like, no shade for those that go on the Food Network star. Like it's a great program. And it is a great platform, but that didn't necessarily have to be your path.
It didn't feel like the right fit at that time. If I had been younger, I think it would have jumped at the opportunity. At that time, I was already making money doing Parker's Plate, and I would have had to stop that altogether in order to compete in that. And I didn't think that it was going to serve me to give all of the things that I built up to take that very tough chance. So
absolutely.
So I decided, okay, I can't scale this business if it's just me. So that's when I started hiring other people to do talent and to train them to do on-camera work that, in a capacity that I might not have been qualified to do. So dietitians, trained chefs, lifestyle experts, and started to build a Rolodex of other experts that I could leverage for some of the same, TV opportunities and media opportunities that I was doing myself. And that's sort of like the real step to building a bigger brand.
And I feel like that's really worked out for you because recently you were awarded the best live video strategy at the Dickety Video and TV Awards in partnership with the Fresh Market and Firework. And you just recently secured this humongous digital campaign for one of your chefs and the Fresh Market. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's like next level huge.
Well, it's funny because thank you. When I met Fresh Market, the CMO, who's incredible and such a visionary in this field, said, well, wait, Parker, you kind of do what Chef Anna does. I'm like, I do. And he's like, but you're negotiating a deal for Chef Anna. And I'm like, to me, being talent makes me the best advocate for talent because I've been there. I have, been through negotiating for myself and sometimes learning a lesson on how to be the best advocate for yourself. And so to me, now, these years later, it makes me feel so good to be able to empower other people and negotiate on their behalf for their highest good, for their best interests. And a lot of times, and you and I have talked about this, I think a lot of times women especially they will undervalue or not ask for what they deserve or what they should be asking for financially, emotionally, all of the above. And in this capacity, I feel like professionally, I could fight for the best possible scenario for the people that are in my stable of experts. And Chef Anna is so talented and just so good at what she does. It made it easy.
And I think, just hearing you say that, I'm reminded just in the work we're in, we're in the same field, but different areas of similar fields, right? Or of the similar field. And I think that speaks to the importance of having an advocate for you, having someone that can speak on your behalf when we are not necessarily the most vocal or don't want to ruffle any feathers. It's nice. It's super nice to have an agent that can just nut and bolt everything and just say, bottom line, this is what this person deserves, and really go in when we as talent might not feel as strong or as confident to just say, bottom line, this is what I want. Like, you can be, I know, just in being your friend and just knowing who you are at your core and at your heart, I know you can be a dog with a bone if you need to be. And you can fight for what you need to have for your client.
I am learning how to do that personally. I'm learning how to do that personally.
And we're all work in progress though. So since you hinted to it, right, let's do a little bit of a pivot right now to like personal life stuff, because I know like all of this is success, right? We're talking about scraping the plate. Sometimes that comes in our personal life as well. And you don't have this much professional success without having to make some adjustments and some major shifts in relationship. And I know that, recently you've had kind of a shift and left a longtime partner, and you guys were together for how long?
14 years. Long time.
That's
longer
a long
than most
fucking
marriages.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long fucking time. And so he's been with Parker through kind of these hills and valleys, but something must have changed at 14 years for you to be like, you know what? Scraping the plate. Got to scrape the plate.
Yeah. And, when we talk about no regrets, I'm very grateful for that relationship, for that person who taught me a lot about myself. We went through a lot of those hard times together. I mean, he was the one bailing me out of jail, I encouraged
Hallelujah. Yes.
But I think that in the same way that a lot of marriages fall apart, you come to a space of really taking, like I've used the phrase, taking inventory of your life and really recognizing when you look down the barrel of the rest of your life and you think, this is not what I want. This is not who I want to be with. And taking that chance and being brave enough to walk away from what has been your security and been your safety net of saying, you know what, this relationship is no longer serving me in the way that I need it to be. And I need to go out on my own. And that's what I did. It was probably the bravest decision I ever made and the hardest decision I ever made. But
yeah, how did you get, like, mentally though? How did you get to that point? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people, listening to this, contemplating, like, is this the right move for me? Should I leave this relationship? I feel like it's run its course. I don't feel like it's serving me. I don't feel like myself in this relationship. This is not what I want for myself. How do you talk yourself into, because it's one thing to say that to yourself. There's another thing to walk out the door, especially when you've been together for 14 years. There's community property. There's fucking animals involved. Okay.
Yeah.
So walking away from something that you've invested in is a lot harder than, we've been together 6 weeks, 6 months. Just, it's fine. I'm out,
Well, I mean, truth be told, we were spending a lot of time apart, and I was doing a lot of work. We bought a ranch in Colorado, 35 acres, beautiful space. And I came to a recognition that, you know, if it's not the person that you want to be with, then it's just a beautiful view. And I was spending more and more time back in Atlanta building my business. And so there was already a geographical separation for a lot of the time that we were together in the last year, and realized that I was just not, I was looking forward more to the business that I was doing away from the space that we shared together. And it was really a moment of reckoning to say, okay, this is, I think I need to be on my own, and I can be on my own. And it was a really hard choice, but I also was really
but you chose you. Yeah, you chose you in that moment.
I did. And sometimes you have to save yourself and not the other person. And I was doing a lot of saving that wasn't for me. And a lot of, I think, shifting the priority to focus on myself, my business, my needs. I think that a lot of women find that we give to everything to, whether it's your children, your partner, your family, and you find that at the end of the day, you're depleted and not nourishing yourself. And I was finding that I was not serving me. I was not prioritizing me. And that can create resentment. That can create dysfunction and a toxic dynamic. And you have to really create the boundaries for yourself to say, you know what, enough is enough. And this is the decision that I'm making, and not look back.
I will not do this anymore.
Yeah. And I will not accept less.
Yeah. And I think that, sometimes we stay in these types of relationships, whether it's romantic relationships, work relationships, friendships, whatever, out of obligation. I mean, hell, this is the person that bailed you out of jail.
Of course.
There's got to be I got to stay with him for some period of time.
And there's family involved, and there's
family involved. Yeah. But at some point, you have to really think about what when I talk to clients about stuff like this and their choices about whether to stay or whether to go in relationship, oftentimes, I kind of bring up, and this is a horrible analogy, but I bring it up often, is this car that you invest in. Like when you buy it and it's new, it's great, right? But after, 5-10 years. Yeah, just because you've invested so much money in the car doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be replaced. And at some point, you do have to walk away. And even if you don't get a new car right away, right? At some point, you do have to say, I'm not going to continue to do this.
Yeah, and it's not.
And instead of scrapping the plate, it's scrapping the car.
And it's not in a vacuum. I mean, they're the only two people who know the truth of the relationship are the two people in the relationship. And it's also about really taking responsibility for your part in that breakdown. And it's not just, this is not a blame game. This is owning your own missteps and your own issues. And I think one of the best pieces of advice I could give other women who are going through a situation where they're either leaving a relationship or really trying to take back their own power and make different decisions, better decisions, therapy has really helped. I'm a big proponent.
Amen, sister. Say it for the people in the back. Absolutely. Therapy is an untapped outlet for so many people.
And you have to be willing to do the work, and it's not easy. And you have to really look in the mirror and face some of the ugly things that, you have or have dealt with, and work through them, because the only way out of the fire is through it. And it's not easy. It's getting easier, but I mean, there are moments where you just think, really hope I made the right decision. And you just have to keep looking forward. The best advice that I could give right now is everybody has that inner voice, their inner compass that truly it's it's that moment of like, you feel when something is wrong, you feel when something isn't right, and you have to listen to that.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's when we start to emerge out of our cocoons as women. Like when we start to understand that that inner voice knew what she was talking about the whole time. Yeah. We just chose not to listen.
And you're kind of sit in silence.
It's start really to recognize. Yes.
It's really easy to blur out like you keep it noisy so you don't have to like hear the silence and be alone. And I think that I'm still in that space of like working and traveling, and you kind of numb it out with all of the extra noise in your life. And it's all about pulling yourself back in to sit in that moment and be uncomfortable in that moment enough to feel your way through it.
Yeah. Yeah. I often say, you know, I'm always mad at myself when I don't trust my gut, but I'm never mad at myself when I do. Never. Even if it doesn't turn out the way that I thought it should, I'm never mad at myself when I trust my gut. I am constantly fighting with myself when I didn't, when I knew better, when I said something told me not to do this, right? I'm always just like, bitch, why did you do that? You knew better. But when your gut is telling you and you follow it, it's just like, this is fine. I'm at peace. Even if it didn't go the way that I wanted, I'm at peace because I know I made a good decision.
And not to be confused with the bitch on your shoulder who's the mean girl saying, what are you doing? What? You're never going to find somebody. You know, like you have to really like quiet that voice because she's alive and well.
We're not dealing with her.
No.
Yes. She's a fucking hater. Okay. She's a fucking hater. So I go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I think one of the best things to come out of, you know, when you sort of like emerge from the darkness is really recognizing the tribe of people who show up for you during those times, because there's never been a moment of doubting who my people are, who my tribe is, coming out of this relationship and coming into a new space of work as well, where you know the people who are showing up. And I think, you know, you and I were talking a little bit about this, about the tribe of women, especially from both personally and professionally, who I've never seen this kind of support and this kind of camaraderie and elevated connectivity is the best way I can describe it, where people come out of the woodwork and suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, like, let me introduce you to this person who can, you know, best help you find a place to live. Let me introduce you to this person who could use representation from a talent standpoint. And it's been so beautiful to see this group of strong women. And dare I use the phrase middle-aged, because now, I mean, I'm about to turn 48 in June. And
you don't look a day over 35, sort of that, girl.
Like a stigma attached to middle age. And now I think like this is a new wave of like, I feel like we need to name it and claim it, because middle aged is just not the way to describe us now. This is about women who
I don't think it is either.
Texture and the like viscosity of experience and you know, life experience, work experience, the gravitas of what they've experienced in their life. And while millennials and the younger set of influencers, shall we call them, have a space for their voice, I think that there's never been a greater need for women of this age to be heard and to be seen. And that is part of what my goal is with talent representation, with elevating experts to really show how important this space and time is for women right now in their 40s.
And not only do you talk about that, you absolutely do that. Like I've seen you, I've witnessed you do that for people where, you know, and you're right. It is a very interesting and powerful time for women who are, you know, from the late 30s, in their 40s, 50s, to just kind of reclaim power and just reclaim like, I've been here. I've been doing the work. I've learned a lot of things, and now let me pass it down or either share it with other people. And I don't see as much, there's not as much, I won't say there's not as much infighting, right, amongst women, but I will say it is so refreshing and nice to see women empowering other women, understanding our power as women and what we hold, and pulling other women along for the ride and saying, oh no, girl, don't accept that offer because it's not what it needs to be. Here's what you should be asking for. And not only what you should be asking for, let me show you how to get what you are entitled to. And matter of fact, let me go in the room before you, mention your name, and make sure they understand who's getting ready to walk in the room so that they don't come to you and lowball you, because we're not taking that. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that you are that girl.
Thank you. Well, you're exactly that way too. And there needs to be more of that sorority of support. And I think that we as women often, we accept less, or we, oh, you need the exposure, so we're not going to pay you, or we apologize for asking for what we need. I'm still guilty of that personally. I feel like I can be, a pit bull in the boardroom, and the little puppy who just leans over on the back and okay, personal life.
Yeah. So but why is that, Parker? Why do I feel like we can advocate for other people so strongly and so ferociously, but when it comes to our own shit, right? When it comes to the deals that we negotiate for ourselves, I'd much rather have an agent do that for me, because I don't necessarily feel as confident going in there and being that bulldog for myself, which is bizarre to me.
It is. And there's a weird dichotomy. I can only speak from my own experience, but I am trying to put that practice into my personal life now with friendships, relationships, family, and understanding boundaries, understanding what your new normal is. Because I think that if you've been functioning in a space of dysfunction or in a toxic situation, you lose your sense of self, and you lose that barometer of what is appropriate, what is normal, healthy, serving you. And it's, to me, it's like a chance at a do-over. So you can really clear the slate and reset your boundaries, your expectations, understanding what your needs are, and stating them. When I say name it and claim it, that is a really powerful space to be in, personally and professionally.
Yeah.
And people are ready to listen.
So what's next?
You are confident about it, and you can speak from what you want, and that everybody is different. But when you are confident in what you need, what you want, and what's going to serve you, then people are going to listen, and they will respect that.
Are you at a place now where you can unequivocally say, this is what I want, this is what I need? You were able to declare, you like a clean and stiff
and strong
martini of a man. And strong martini of a man, right? Are you able to do that for yourself now? Are you able to walk into a room at any given point, whether that's a boardroom or a bar, right? And say, put your purse down and say, listen, this is what I need and what I want. I'm not taking nothing less.
I am getting a lot better at it, and I'm enjoying it more, because when I say it's a chance at a do-over, it's I can reinvent. I've reinvented my career all of these times. I can reinvent myself and decide what's next. Who do I want to spend time with? I want to spend time with people who are elevating me, who are inspiring me to be bigger, to be more expansive intellectually, culturally. And there's an opportunity to do that now that I didn't make space for before. And that's on me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will say, Parker, you have totally elevated our experience today, not only by the beautiful martini, but your beautiful personality and everything that you brought to the table, things I didn't even ask for or know were coming, did not have an inkling that we'd be talking about jail time today, but I'd love to see it. Didn't know you said, okay, so full disclosure, Parker said, anything you want to talk about is open. I'm just willing to be open, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what, Parker, we can dial it back if it gets too uncomfortable. Parker just like whips her dick out and says, bitch, I've been to jail.
Listen,
was not expecting that at all.
Yeah. I'm not going to say it's the last time I'm interested in handcuffs, but definitely the last time I'm interested in paddy wagons.
And here's the thing, you are telling your age because no one over a certain age says paddy wagon, hun. But I knew exactly what you meant. Because I am of that age. Listen, but I love you, Dad. I love you so much. And I so appreciate you doing this podcast with me. Just please tell the people what's coming up next for you. What do you have going on? Where can we find you? I know we can find you on any given food segment on any given day, whether it's Hormel ham, the Walmart,
yes,
US Peanuts. Well, like she has all of the campaigns.
Well,
so I know I'm going to see you pop up.
It's going to be a lot less of me on camera and more of this phenomenal group of experts that I'm cultivating and now managing, which is really exciting. And now it's going to be focusing on spokesperson deals. It's also building this nutrition network that I have. And we are working on a lot of really interesting things in terms of being deployment for corporations and for agencies who need that element for crisis communication. And really, when I say elevating, it's elevating every aspect of the business model and now personal life. So I'm really excited for what's to come. I've never felt more.
I'm excited for you.
More positive about the future and about the new things that are happening and the new relationships, the new friendships, and this group of phenomenal women who continue to be my strength, my spirit, like you, Dr. Tiff.
Well, I so appreciate you and love you so much for doing this with us and I just appreciate the opportunity to be able to share my friend with so many people who may not have known you personally, but have probably experienced you in some way, shape, form, or fashion, just by the work that you put out into the world and the women that you empower. So I thank you so much for being a guest on Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff. And I hope that you'll come back at some point and let us know what goes down. If you get arrested again, definitely come back and let us know, what went down. Definitely. And then we'll just bring you on to talk about your trauma in the paddy wagon. And perhaps we'll scrape some money together and make sure, we put something on your books. How about that?
Lifetime movie is going to be really good.
It's going to be epic. Parker Wallace, thank you so much. Thank you. To everyone out there listening, thank you so much for tuning in to Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff. We'll see you next time. Ciao.